As expected, Terraria's 8th anniversary resulted in massive amounts of new information being released about upcoming ports and patches. Hopefully this video will be a catch-all for any missed content or late additions to the long list of things that have been revealed lately by the developers, who have been going absolutely hog wild with these spoilers. Covered in this video are updates about 1.3.6, unrevealed content, and obviously Mobile 1.3, including 3 screenshots. Also, if you click the like button, then Mobile 1.3 will be released sooner. Doubly so if you subscribe, honest. So let's start with something visual. Senex posted this on the official forums. Quote, "Good evening, Terrarians. As many of you know, our sweet little baby game just turned 8 years old. It feels like just yesterday we were holed up in a tiny hotel room in Minneapolis, writing the initial design doc for 1.2. As the years have progressed and our community has grown, it has become very apparent that we all share one common goal: seeing our little game reach its full potential. With that, I would like to share with you one of the many new critters you can expect to find in the upcoming 1.3.6 PC update." And with that, she posted this animation. She followed that up by saying, "There are no words to describe how much your continued support and passion means to the entire team. Terraria definitely would not be what it is today without our community, and we thank you all so much for that. Heart." Now this was followed immediately by a post from Loki, who wrote, quote, "Just want to echo every bit of the above. Each and every one of you is amazing, and your support is valuable beyond words. It is something we never take for granted and treasure greatly. Thanks for making what we do both possible and a heck of a lot of fun. Here's to continuing that relationship as studio and gamers." Now, as promised in the 8th anniversary contest, both Senex and Redigit also answered a host of questions from forums users. Let's start with Senex and then we'll move on to Redigit second. When necessary for context, I'll include the original question, but again, here's what Senex had to say. Quote, "We have always said that we would like to attempt some variation of creative mode prior to being done with Terraria, and I think that is still very much on the table. The team is a bit torn on a post-Moonlord boss and post-Moonlord content, but it is something that we talk about quite often. I wouldn't be surprised to see something added post-Moonlord, just not entirely sure what that would look like yet." And then in response to what were some interesting features that were close to making it into the game but got cut, to that she responded, quote, "There are 3 that come to mind immediately: rain accumulation, weapon dyes, and being able to grapple to trees. Rain accumulation was actually really fun to test on the servers, and it was in for a few beta builds. Basically, the rain would fall, it would cause holes, bunkers, etc. to flood with water, and you would have to build little systems to get rid of the water. The ability to dye weapons was always something we wanted to try, and this was definitely a highly requested feature. Unfortunately, the way our dye and particle systems work does not play nicely with this, and we ended up having to scrap the system entirely. Grappling to trees is still a feature I'm very upset about losing. Basically, for a few builds, Redigit made it so you could grapple to trees. However, he later found that it interfered with gameplay in an annoying way, so it had to be scrapped. And then in response to, "Do you guys plan on switching to a different engine in future products, or do you feel XNA and .NET serves your purposes rather well?" she wrote, "Initially, Terraria was meant to be a little pet project for one man. The fact that we are still updating and have such a large team is a bit mind-blowing. I can say without a doubt that our next game will be done with a different engine for sure." One can live in hope that any sequel or new franchise developed by Relogic will be coded in a game engine that's more favorable to expansion and quicker multi-platform updates. I'm not a coder though, and so I'm hardly going to second guess the expertise of Eurizor and Redigit when it comes to programming a potential sequel. Senex also wrote, quote, Terraria 1 will definitely be done in the next 5 years. And similarly, in response to, what is your long-term goal for Terraria? So say in like 2 to 8 years, what do you plan on doing with it? She said, finishing it and moving on. While it has been a crazy, amazing ride, we're all definitely ready to move on to the next project. And finally, in response to, do you think there will ever be more Easter eggs in the game that are super obscure and hard to find? Senex wrote, it is always likely that we will add a few. And that's her role in the Q&A session on the forums. Let's move on to what Redigit had to say. Quote, I never really thought about having defined classes in the game early on. It's something that just evolved as we added more armor sets and accessories. I'm pretty happy with how they all turned out because there is something unique about each one of them. Ranged uses different types of ammo to modify the base projectile. Magic has mana management and a bunch of crazy weapons, and melee is more basic for people who don't want to bother with any of that. On top of those three, you have Summoner, that I consider a subclass of all the others, except you are supported by creatures that do all the work for you. I'm pretty happy with how it all turned out, and don't really see a need to add more classes just for the sake of adding more classes. It's cool that some mods do for the people that would like to experiment with that kind of thing. Redigit also wrote, quote, lore always took a backseat to gameplay in Terraria. There are some things I always envisioned being a certain way, but the game never really talks about it. Terraria is the kind of game where you make your own stories, and I don't think that will change. If we make a sequel, we will definitely plan things ahead of time, so the story will make more sense. And furthermore, he wrote, I want there to be more Terraria games in the future. After 1.1 came out, and I decided to quit Terraria, I planned on having a sequel out by now, but it didn't happen that way. I'm very happy with how far Terraria has come though. Speaking about 1.3.6, he wrote, I added the ability to strap dynamite to bunnies and let them chase after monsters this update too. Had to fight tooth and nail with Senex for that one, but I usually get my way. And then he followed that up with, there are already a bunch of new items in this update, with more planned before release. Then, in response to, do you plan on making more biomes for the game, he wrote, you'll just have to wait and see. Now, both Redigit and Senex did field many other questions, but for the sake of time, I made the curated list that you just heard based on which I found to be the most informative, specifically regarding updates about the game. A lot of the questions and answers related to just personal tastes and chit-chat, that sort of thing, so I didn't really want to take the time to include it. But if you'd like to read all of their answers, I'll include a link to their forum posts in the video description. And so there you go. I'm going to conclude with some new screenshots that were posted by Loki on the Terraria Discord, one of which I already shared in another recent video, but I'll include it here just for the sake of completion and in case you hadn't seen it already. It shows the Cosmic Car Key in use. Now, the Cosmic Car Key item, as you can see, summons a flying saucer mount, which is an amazing mount. It's fast, it's fun, it looks cool. And here's a pro tip. You can also use dye just to the left of the item so that you can turn the UFO mount all kinds of exotic colors using the game's rarer dyes. Some of them are animated, in fact, and so it really makes it feel like your own custom ride and adds more personality to it. Next, we have a demonstration of the character and then later the world gen on mobile. First, the character generation screen, which really piles a lot of options into a small space. Brutal efficiency, I'd say, and I'm sure they had to do a lot of design concepts to find something that works so well. It's very clean and simple, but also graphical in a way that's consistent with the game's art style, so well done. And this is similar to the World Gen menu. Now, the World Gen menu you see here is a little less crowded, but really they're Going to be fewer options on the World Gen menu anyway. I'm definitely a fan of the Evil Bunny. I'd never turn one of those down. It's a nice way to distinguish the option. I want to say that we saw this screen not too long ago, or some variant of it, but I've been seeing so many spoiler images these days, it's a challenge to keep them all straight. Anyway, Mobile 1.3 seems well on its way to completion. Let's get that limited beta started soon. Hopefully you click that like button, and if you're feeling generous, the subscribe button too. As I told you earlier, clicking those buttons does help Mobile 1.3 come out that much earlier, so you'd be smart to click them. And very recently, Loki also did an Ask Me Anything, or AMA, on the Terraria Discord. And although that was almost completely just personal chit-chat and that sort of thing, he did twice admit during that AMA that he had no idea how long the Mobile 1.3 beta would last. That's really the only material question he answered about Terraria. And I would quote him, but it's really all he revealed. He doesn't know how long it's going to last. So hopefully the delays that we've been seeing in the beta, which was announced quite a while ago now, have been because they've been finding bugs and squashing them. I'd like to think that when the beta begins, it's really fairly polished. There's not much to fix, and maybe it's just multiplayer stress testing that they need to check out, which, fingers crossed, won't take too long. Anyway, that's everything for now. Thanks for watching this far. As you know, my channel tries its best to stay updated. There's a lot coming out at the moment, but I'd like to say I've kept on top of it lately. So keep an eye on the channel for any new reveals. Loki, after the AMA was over, did indicate that he would be preparing some kind of mobile spoiler to share. He didn't indicate when, but maybe that's not enough material for a video. Maybe I end up posting that in the community feed, but as always, I'll stay on top of it, and I appreciate all of you for watching, liking, subscribing, that sort of thing. So until next time.